Hi everyone, this is Carlos Castellanos. I am a freelance humor illustrator, and I am also a syndicated cartoonist and co-creator of the nationally syndicated comic strip Baldo, which appears in over 250 papers nationwide. The reason for this video is to answer 10 very specific questions from Melissa Mrazek from the Art Institute of Pittsburgh, the online division, in a graphic illustration class. So here I am, hi Melissa, attempting to answer and give my best answers to these 10 questions. So here it is. Question number 1, can you describe the process you go through when working on an illustration from start to finish? That's easy. I usually get contacted by a client, and what I'll typically do is have, after my initial conversation with the client about the project, I'll generally do about 3 sketches. From there, we'll talk about the 3 options, and they'll usually have a strong feeling for 1 or 2 or maybe a combination, and we'll then go to a more tighter final sketch of one concept, and from there we'll make whatever tweaks need to be made if it's not right on the money, and I'll take it back to the computer and go ahead to final and send them a low-res version of the final color piece if it's a color piece, and then digitally deliver the final outcome. But as far as that process, I mean, that's the technical process. I think the most important part of that process is your initial conversation with the client. A lot of younger freelancers are very anxious to get on with the illustration aspect of it, and what they end up doing is creating a lot more work for themselves in the form of revisions, or maybe going down a road that wasn't right for the client. So that initial conversation, it's really important to nail down what their expectations are, what the purpose of the illustration is, who it's geared for, and what those parameters are, and get as much detail for that project as possible. If after the end of the conversation you start sketching out some ideas and you're not clear on something, pick up the phone immediately, call the client, ask some more questions. It'll save you a lot of work in the long run. Question number 2. Would you say that a technical or manual process has a more important role in your work, meaning computers versus pen and paper, and why? I work all on computer. I mean, it's 100% computer work. I've been on the computer for about 12, 13 years now, and that's in both my commercial work and my syndicated comic strip. It's just a lot easier to make revisions, to tweak things, to manipulate things, and to make changes if need be. So it's just a more efficient way to work. Occasionally I'll rough up some sketches in the conceptual stage just for myself in the form of thumbnails, but typically I do it all on the computer. Which materials programs do you find most helpful when illustrating? Like I said, I use Photoshop primarily for both my commercial work and my syndicated comic strip, and that's for sketching, inking, and color work. Occasionally, I will go into Adobe Illustrator and do my inking for my comic strip, particularly my Sundays, within Illustrator, just because it does deliver a slightly different look and just kind of mix things up a little bit. But I use primarily Photoshop, and I use the Wacom tablet. Whose work do you admire within illustration? Who or what inspires you from outside your own medium and or work? There's a lot of creative people out there, and I'm inspired by a lot of them for a lot of different reasons. Just to keep it short and simple, I guess I'll go with one is Bill Mayer, a well-established illustrator, very versatile, does a lot of monsters and weird looking things with airbrush. He also does scratchboard. So I love his versatility and his conceptual ideas. Another one that I really respect a lot is David Liebel of Batard. He's a friend of mine out here in Miami. He's actually more of a fine painter, but he's got a very illustrative style. Last year we actually invited 4 Latino artists to draw a Sunday strip for the Baldo comic strip during last year's Hispanic Heritage Month, and this was Lebo's interpretation of Baldo. Another one that's a lot like Lebo in the sense that, in the kind of mediums he's choosing to make his work accessible in is Drew Brophy. His style is more of a surfing lifestyle themed work. And his stuff shows up on surfboards, boogie boards, sneakers, again, posters, all sorts of cool stuff. I mean, on vans. What first inspired you to follow the route you have taken? You know what? For me, I've always liked to draw, but as far as becoming a freelance illustrator, I think the first time that I've ever thought about actually working from home was when I was in second grade. I used to watch this show called Bewitched. It was a show that ran from the mid 40s to the mid or late 60s. It was a comedy sitcom, and Darren Stevens was an ad executive or an art director. A lot of times they would show Darren Stevens working from his home office, and in his home office he had this big wooden drawing table, and a lot of times they'd show him like coming up with the ad campaigns from home. So I just the visual of that, being able to be home in your own office, drawing, and coming up with these cool ideas, and sitting behind this huge wooden drawing table, just for some reason kind of really appealed to me. And that was the first time I ever really, I remember thinking, that's what I really want to be able to do. And I'm not sure what he was doing exactly, but I know that was the vision that I had of what I wanted to do. And I was able to work towards that, and I've been doing that for over 26 years now, so I'm very grateful and lucky. Number 6, when did you first start illustrating? I started illustrating in the early, I think it was like 1982, 1981. An illustration instructor of mine took me aside and basically told me, I'm not going to grade you on the classwork anymore. What I'm going to do is I'm going to teach you how to freelance, and I'm going to start giving you, I'm going to start sending you out there, and I'm going to grade you on your ability to meet clients and get work. We'll let it ring, because this is more important. So anyway, he taught me the ropes, and he taught me how to contact the clients and how to price my work. And that's where I got my start. He would actually teach me how to engage in the conversation with a client, how to show the work, the kind of questions I should be asking. That was invaluable to me, that kind of mentoring. What is your favorite style of illustration? I really don't have a favorite style of illustration. I like different styles for different things. I think I like things that are whimsical and things that involve texture. Sometimes I like a lot of stuff that looks nothing like the kind of work that I do, just because I like it for whatever emotional reasons. So how do you keep your work fresh? I think for me, the best way to keep something fresh is to always be working on the kind of projects that you want to be working on. Be very careful not to start working in a direction, just start doing stuff just to get the work, and then all of a sudden find yourself being called upon to do a certain style of work or a certain kind of work that you really don't enjoy, and it means nothing to you simply because that's what people are coming to you for. What advice would you give an aspiring illustrator in hindsight? Would you have done anything different? I wouldn't have done anything different. The mistakes that I made along the way all contributed to getting me to where I am today. They're all stepping stones that kind of built upon themselves. The only thing that I would warn against is basically what I just mentioned earlier. Be careful not to be taken down a road that you're not happy with. That's where people start getting burnt out, and I've been there. Where would you like your work to lead you? Have you any aspirations or plans for the future? We want to obviously expand the Baldo comic strip. We have a TV series in development. Aside from that, I'd really like to expand into mentoring others or other working professionals that need some help in their marketing and trying to find better ways to search out the kind of work that's more relevant to them. With that, I've started 2 sites, cartooningpro.com and drawnbysuccess.com, which focuses on marketing, self-promotion, pricing, and all the resources that a successful freelancer might need to move their career forward. So if you're interested in that, you can check out drawnbysuccess.com. With that, Melissa, thank you for your questions. I hope that the answers were helpful. Best of luck to all of you in your future careers, and stay in touch.